big commotion behind me is the new Nike launch.
Picture this. You are inside Nike Fort in Bonifacio Global City. It is July 21st, 2025. You have been waiting in line for hours, your phone open to a stopwatch because a single white t-shirt is about to drop. A t-shirt with a small white Sampaguita flower stitched onto it, designed for a 20-year-old Filipina ranked 56 in the world. The doors open, the shirts move. And before you can finish a phone call to your sister in Cebu, every piece is gone.
3, 2, 1, go!
Some accounts say the online inventory vanished in under a minute. Nike Philippines, in their own caption, used the words 60 seconds. Inside the Fort store, fans say it took about 10 minutes. Either way, minutes, not hours. That was the moment Nike learned in real time that they had massively underestimated the size of Alex Eala's army.
That was actually a surprise for me. Like, the message behind it was great. And I was like wearing my little flower. Oh my God.
Subscribe and stay with us because the Sampaguita story is not finished. The next chapter starts on the grass at SW19. To understand why a t-shirt about a flower triggered a stampede, you have to rewind to the 7 days before this video. Eala just walked off the grass in Berlin, having beaten world number 2 Elena Rybakina and world number 4 Elena Svitolina in the same week. Days after the Berlin run, Wimbledon's seeding list confirmed her at number 29, the first Filipina ever seeded at a Grand Slam. She did all of that wearing Nike, and the one Nike piece every Filipino on earth wants to wear to celebrate it, they still cannot buy. Now rewind further, back to that July 2025 launch. Nike Philippines partnered with Manila-based artist Georgina Camus to design a capsule called Nike by You in full bloom. The anchor piece was the Sampaguita Moment women's tee. The inspiration was a one-of-one Sampaguita hair tie that Nike had handmade for Eala before her Wimbledon 2025 center court debut against defending champion Barbara Krejcikova. Nike confirmed the hair tie itself would never be commercially available. Only one exists. She wore it onto the most famous lawn in tennis, carrying her country in her hair. The tee was supposed to be how the rest of us could touch that moment. Instead, Nike Philippines launched it at exactly one physical store, Nike Fort BGC. Online distribution went through exactly one retailer, parkaccess.com.ph. A country of 115 million people, plus the millions more Filipinos working and living overseas, were handed a single boutique drop and told good luck. This is not a story about a brand being cruel. It is a story about a brand being wrong. Start with the design itself. Nike did not parachute in a global creative team. They handed the brief to Camus, a Filipina artist, who built the tee, the tote, and the ball cap around the national flower of the Philippines. A Filipina designer translating a Filipina athlete's most personal pre-match ritual into wearable form. The demand signal was screaming before the first unit ever shipped. Then came the launch math. One store, one retailer, one country, for a population larger than France, Italy, and Spain combined. The result was the timeline compression you would expect. July 21st, online drop, gone in what Nike's own Instagram called 60 seconds. Same day, in-store at Nike Fort, gone in roughly 10 minutes.
3, 2, 1, go!
Every subsequent redrop on parkaccess.com.ph also sold out. By the following morning, Lazada Philippines had built a dedicated search tag, Nike Alex Eala Sampaguita shirt, populated by resellers listing the tee at multiples of retail. A national pride capsule for a player, then ranked outside the top 50, was generating a secondary market normally reserved for Jordan releases. Compare that to what tennis merchandise usually does. Coco Gauff moves New Balance, Naomi Osaka moved Nike, Serena moved HSN. Every one of them was a Grand Slam champion or finalist when their signature pieces hit shelves. Eala was 56 in the world with 0 slam finals, and her shirt evaporated faster than most of theirs ever did. This is where the audience needs to hear something clearly. The Filipino fans who said for years that Eala was a global commercial event waiting to happen, You were not exaggerating. You were not biased. You were the only people in the conversation reading the data correctly. Nike's own register tape just confirmed it. And the pattern did not break, it compounded. Vogue Philippines put her on the August 2025 cover. Demand spiked again. Front Office Sports ran the headline, Eala is selling out stadiums, before her 2026 Indian Wells appearance. Demand spiked again. Then Berlin happened. Rybakina, Svitolina, a semifinal at a WTA 500. Demand spiked again. And nearly a year after the original launch, Filipino fans are still posting request for product restocking reels, tagging Nike Philippines, asking for a global release that has not come. There is one more data point that tells you Nike knows exactly what they are sitting on. People Asia reported that Eala's Nike deal is worth roughly $2 million annually. Nike has not confirmed that figure publicly, but if the reporting is even directionally accurate, the undersupplied Philippines only drop was not a budget problem, it was a vision problem, which brings us to the designer herself. Georgina Camus is not a freelancer Nike found on a mood board. She is the Manila-based artist hand-selected by Nike Philippines to translate that one-of-one Sampaguita hair tie into something an entire country could wear. Her work is now circulating through the global tennis fashion press, Vogue Philippines, Sports Illustrated's Serve Vertical, Tennis.com. When she posted the tee to Instagram in July 2025, she described it this way: "This custom tee is a symbol of discipline, courage, and full-circle growth, designed to inspire the next generation to bloom in their own time." I read that sentence again with the sales data in mind. Camus designed the piece to inspire the next generation. The next generation cannot buy it. The shirt meant to bloom in young Filipinas' closets is instead blooming on carousel resale listings at 3 times retail. The designer did her job. The cultural artifact is real. The distribution failed the mission. And this is where Nike's miscalculation stops being a Philippine story and starts becoming a global tennis economics story. Every apparel executive watching this drop just received free market research. Southeast Asian tennis is not a future market. It is not a charity demographic. It is a current, active, immediately monetizable consumer base that obliterated Nike's supply assumptions inside 10 minutes. Now layer in what comes next. Wimbledon 2026 starts in days. Eala walks in as the number 29 seed, the first Filipina ever seeded at a slam, in the most watched tennis tournament on the planet in a global broadcast window wearing Nike. Then comes the North American hard-court swing, the Canadian Open Cincinnati, the U.S. Open in New York, where the Filipino-American community is one of the largest Asian populations in the country. 3 tournaments. 3 opportunities for Nike to either repeat the mistake or finally scale to the demand. Here is the defensible prediction. If a restocked or expanded Sampaguita collection drops globally before the Wimbledon first ball, the website goes down within minutes. Not because the fans are irrational, because Nike has trained them for a full year now to expect scarcity. It would be dishonest to tell this story without the Berlin semifinal. After the Rybakina and Svitolina wins, Eala lost in the last 4. Tennishead.net ran a piece literally headlined, "Alex Eala advised to take a break after losing in Berlin Open semifinal." Her own framing from the Vogue Philippines cover story was already on the record months before that loss arrived. Tennis is such a beautiful sport because it really keeps you grounded. You lose, you really learn to lose, because you lose almost every week. She lost on a Saturday. Wimbledon seedings dropped within the same week. She walked out of Berlin as the first Filipina ever seeded at a Grand Slam, so picture it one more time. A 20-year-old walks onto center court with a single handmade flower in her hair that no one else on earth will ever own. A Filipino artist in Manila turns that flower into a t-shirt. Filipino fans empty a store in 10 minutes. Nike's own caption says the online inventory lasted 60 seconds. A reseller economy springs up on Lazada by Tuesday. And a year later, with Eala now seeded 29 at Wimbledon, the shirt is still effectively unobtainable. Alex Eala is no longer just a Filipino sports story, she is a Filipino market. And Nike just learned the hard way that a flower in a hair tie can move more merchandise in 10 minutes than most top 10 players move in a year. Here is the question. If Nike drops the Sampaguita collection globally before Wimbledon 2026 starts, does the website crash or does Nike finally make enough? Tell us in the comments how fast you would buy and where in the world you would be buying from. If you are watching this, you are part of the group that saw this coming before the spreadsheets did. The fans who clicked refresh at midnight Manila time in July 2025. The Filipinos in Dubai, Toronto, Los Angeles, and Sydney who paid freight forwarder fees just to own a piece of that moment. This channel is built for that crowd. The believers who treat every Eala milestone like a family event. Subscribe and stay with us because the Sampaguita story is not finished. The next chapter starts on the grass at SW19.